Girls, honestly? I can dump him anytime. He's just a wallet I've not emptied yet. Give me another year, maybe 2, then I'm taking half of everything and starting fresh with someone who actually excites me. I'm Jason. And those words, spoken by my wife of 8 years, just shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. I stood frozen on the staircase, my hand gripping the wooden railing so hard my knuckles turned white. The wine glass in my other hand trembled, the red liquid almost spilling over the rim. I'd come home early from the office to surprise Rachel with anniversary dinner reservations at her favorite restaurant. Instead, I got this. Through the crack in the kitchen door, I could see her clearly, my beautiful wife, laughing with her 3 closest friends like she'd just told the funniest joke in the world. Meredith clinked her wine glass against Rachel's. You're terrible, Rachel. But smart. Meredith, the lawyer's wife, always had that calculating look in her eyes. Vanessa, the Instagram influencer with 200,000 followers, tossed her blonde hair back and giggled. Kim, the interior designer who'd helped us renovate this very penthouse, shook her head with mock disapproval but couldn't hide her grin. My chest felt tight. 8 years. We'd been married for 8 years. I'd given her everything. This penthouse overlooking Central Park, the weekend house in the Hamptons, the Tesla she insisted on, the unlimited credit card she used for her self-care spa days. I worked 16-hour days building my real estate empire so she could live the life she dreamed of. And I was just a wallet. I backed away slowly, careful not to make the old wooden stairs creak. My heart pounded in my ears, but my mind was already shifting into something colder. Something calculated. I didn't storm into that kitchen. I didn't throw open the door and demand an explanation. Instead, I walked quietly to my home office, closed the door, and sat in the darkness. 20 years ago, I was a scholarship kid from the Bronx wearing secondhand clothes to Columbia University. My mother cleaned office buildings at night while I studied. My father had died when I was 12, a heart attack on a construction site, no life insurance, nothing. I remembered eating ramen for weeks, remembered my mother crying over bills she couldn't pay, remembered promising myself I'd never be that powerless again. I built everything from nothing. My first property was a foreclosed brownstone in Brooklyn I bought at auction with every penny I'd saved working 3 jobs. I slept in the unfinished basement while I renovated it myself, learning plumbing and electrical work from YouTube videos. When I sold it 6 months later, I doubled my investment. Then I did it again. And again. By 30, I owned 15 properties. By 35, I was worth $12 million. Rachel came into my life at a charity gala when I was 32. She was a marketing executive, elegant in a black dress, with a smile that made the whole room feel warmer. She seemed different from the women I'd met, genuine, interested in my work, supportive of my late nights and weekend calls. We dated for 2 years before I proposed on a beach in Santorini. She cried when she said yes. I thought they were happy tears. Now, sitting in my dark office, I pulled out my phone. My hands were steady, steadier than they should have been. I opened my notes app and typed one word, evidence. Then I heard them laughing again from the kitchen, the sound drifting through the walls of this penthouse I'd bought for our future. Rachel's voice carried the clearest. The prenup isn't even that tight. His lawyer was some old friend who gave him a discount. Definitely beatable. I closed my eyes and made a decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to do what I did best, strategize, plan, and execute with surgical precision. If Rachel wanted to play games with my life, she was about to learn that I didn't build an empire by being careless. I saved the note and stood up. Time to be the perfect husband. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting videos. The next morning, I woke up at 6 like always. Rachel was still asleep, her dark hair spread across the silk pillowcase I'd bought her from that boutique in Paris. She looked peaceful. Innocent even. My stomach turned, but I kept my face neutral. I headed downstairs to the kitchen where, just hours ago, she'd been laughing about using me. I made her favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup, the expensive kind from Vermont, scrambled eggs with chives, fresh squeezed orange juice, and French press coffee. I arranged everything on the tray with a single white rose in a small vase. The same breakfast I'd made her on our first anniversary. Back when I thought we were building something real. When I brought it up to our bedroom, Rachel was just stirring. Her eyes opened, and for a moment, just a moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Or maybe just surprise that her wallet was being so attentive. Jason, she murmured, sitting up and smiling. What's all this? I sat on the edge of the bed, stroking her hair the way she liked. Happy almost anniversary, babe. I was thinking last night, maybe we should renew our vows next year. Really celebrate us. Make it bigger than the first wedding. What do you think? Her smile widened and she leaned in to kiss me. You're so sweet, Jason. That sounds amazing. Sweet. I was sweet. The wallet had feelings. I watched her eat, asking about her day, telling her about a property deal I was closing in Brooklyn. She nodded in all the right places, asked the appropriate questions, played the role of supportive wife perfectly. If I hadn't heard what I'd heard last night, I might have believed it. I might have gone on believing it for another year while she positioned herself to take everything. After breakfast, Rachel headed to the shower. I heard the water running, heard her humming something cheerful. My jaw clenched. I walked over to her laptop on the dresser, the rose gold MacBook I'd bought her last Christmas. I knew her password. It was our wedding date, 091516. She'd never changed it because she thought I'd never snoop. I opened the browser. Her search history loaded and my blood ran cold. How to maximize divorce settlement in New York, hidden assets in marriage, best divorce lawyers Manhattan. Can prenup be contested, average settlement for 8-year marriage. The searches went back 3 months. 3 months of planning. 3 months of research while she smiled at me over dinner, while she said, I love you before bed, while she wore the anniversary necklace I'd given her. I pulled out my phone and started taking screenshots. Every search. Every page. My hands moved mechanically, efficiently. This was just business now. Just another deal to close, another property to secure. Then I saw something else. Her credit card statements were open in another tab. I clicked through, my heart rate picking up. There were the usual charges, Bergdorf Goodman, Saks, that organic juice place she loved. But then I saw it, the Waldorf Astoria. Room charges. Not just once. Every single month for the past 6 months. Always on a Thursday. Always room 1147. I zoomed in on the charges. The dates were consistent, third Thursday of every month. Sometimes overnight charges. Sometimes just a few hours. But always the same room. The shower turned off. I quickly closed the laptop, deleted my browsing history showing I'd accessed it, and stood up just as Rachel emerged from the bathroom in a towel, her skin flushed from the hot water. You okay? She asked, tilting her head. You look tense. I forced a smile. Just thinking about work. The Brooklyn deal has some complications. She walked over and wrapped her arms around me, leaving wet spots on my shirt. You work too hard, Jason. You should relax more. Take a vacation. We should go somewhere. Maybe the Maldives? The Maldives. On my money. While she screwed someone at the Waldorf. Maybe, I said, kissing her forehead. Let me close this deal first. She smiled and turned back to get dressed. I watched her, this woman I'd loved for a decade, and felt absolutely nothing. Well, that wasn't true. I felt something. But it wasn't love anymore. It was the same feeling I got when I found a property with hidden potential. When I saw the blueprint for something profitable, something I could flip and walk away from with a return on my investment. I left the bedroom and went back to my office. I had a phone call to make. Marcus Chin had been my friend since Columbia. We'd shared a dorm room, split ramen packets when neither of us had money. Now he was one of Manhattan's top divorce attorneys, and I was sliding a folder across his mahogany desk. Marcus opened it slowly. Screenshots, bank statements, credit card records. His expression shifted from curious to concerned. Jason, how long has this been going on? I don't know. Maybe years. But I want surgical precision, Marcus. Clean, legal, and she won't see it coming. Marcus leaned back. All right. But we do it right. Quiet. Strategic. I want her to feel exactly what she made me feel, I said. Worthless. Used. Blindsided. Marcus nodded. He knew my story, knew how hard I'd worked. There's something else. I had my investigator tail her. She's not at the Waldorf alone. My stomach dropped. Marcus turned his monitor toward me. Surveillance footage. Rachel entering the Waldorf lobby. Beside her, a man. Tall, well-dressed. They walked to the elevators. Room 1147. Who is he? Derek Castellano. Venture capitalist. 34. Worth about $8 million. You've met him at industry events. I had. Designer suits, Maserati, talked about his yacht constantly. Does he know she's married? No. She told him she's divorced. Said her ex-husband was controlling and abusive. The room spun. She was rewriting everything, painting me as a monster. How long? 6 months that we can confirm. 6 months of Thursdays. 6 months of lies. I need you to do something for me, I said. And it needs to look completely natural. That night, while Rachel slept upstairs, I sat in my home office moving pieces on a chessboard she didn't even know existed. My computer screen glowed as I worked through spreadsheets, LLC documents, trust agreements. The prenup Rachel mentioned so casually wasn't as weak as she thought. What she didn't know was that I'd restructured most assets 3 years ago when I expanded into commercial real estate. I transferred funds from our joint account into a separate business LLC I'd established before we met. The prenup explicitly protected premarital business assets. Marcus had reviewed everything. Airtight. The Manhattan penthouse? I filed paperwork transferring ownership into a family trust with my late mother's name, designating my cousin Maria as trustee. Rachel was listed as a resident, not an owner. My investment portfolio, stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, liquidated and reinvested through offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Legal, documented, untouchable in divorce court. Over 3 weeks I moved everything. Rachel noticed nothing. She was too distracted with her Thursday appointments, her spending sprees, her expensive dinners I never attended. One afternoon Rachel's younger sister Sophie visited. She was different from Rachel. Genuine, warm, studying social work. She found me in the kitchen. "Jason, is everything okay? You seem distant." I considered telling her. "Not yet. Just work stress. Big deal closing next month." Sophie nodded but looked unconvinced. She'd become important later. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, "She's at the Waldorf right now. Room 1147. Marcus's investigator." I stared at the text then deleted it. Let her think she was winning. The Manhattan Arts Charity Gala was the event of the season. Rachel looked stunning in a red gown I'd paid for, working the room like she owned it. I watched from across the ballroom, seeing her differently now. Every smile calculated. Every laugh performative. Derek Castellano was there. I watched Rachel's eyes find him across the crowd. She didn't approach, too risky, but the look they exchanged said everything. Longing. Conspiracy. The kind of look that should have been reserved for her husband. I approached the microphone for my scheduled speech about my foundation's work. But mid-speech I went off script. I've learned something recently about loyalty and trust. We live in a world where appearances matter more than truth. Where people smile to your face while planning your destruction behind closed doors. I paused, letting the words settle. Tonight, I want to toast to authenticity, to people who are exactly who they claim to be. I raised my glass, looking directly at Rachel. The room went silent. Some guests exchanged confused glances. Rachel's smile faltered for just a second. After the speech, Meredith pulled me aside. "That was intense. Everything okay?" I studied her. She'd been there that night, laughing at Rachel's confession. "Meredith, if you knew someone was planning to hurt someone you knew, would you say something?" Her face paled. I guess it depends. What if staying silent made you complicit?" She excused herself quickly. Perfect. She'd warned Rachel. My phone buzzed. "Marcus, the trap is set. Phase 2 begins tomorrow." Rachel stood at the Bergdorf Goodman register, her arms full of designer bags. The cashier swiped our joint credit card once. Twice. 3 times. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this card shows insufficient funds." Rachel's face flushed. "That's impossible. Run it again." The woman behind her sighed audibly. Other customers were staring. Rachel's hands trembled as she called me. "Jason, what's going on?" "Our card was declined." I kept my voice calm, measured. "Oh, that's strange. Let me check with the bank. Probably just a system error. Use your personal card for now." I left it at home." Well, I'm in a meeting. Can it wait?" Silence. Then she hung up. That evening, Vanessa posted an Instagram story. Her, Rachel, Meredith, and Kim at brunch. Caption, "Real ones, no real ones, 2 hearts, #squad goals." But I noticed something. The photo was geotagged at the Waldorf. And in the background, barely visible, was Derek Castellano entering an elevator. I screenshotted it. Evidence compounded. Rachel came home that night, cold and distant. I was reading in bed. She didn't speak. I didn't acknowledge her silence. The war was silent but escalating. I'd frozen her access slowly enough that she thought it was coincidence. A banking error. A credit limit issue. She didn't realize I was systematically cutting her off from everything she thought she controlled. My phone buzzed. "Sophie, we need to talk. Tomorrow. Your office." I smiled in the darkness. Sophie showed up at my office unannounced, tears streaming down her face. I closed the door immediately. "Jason, please tell me what's happening." Rachel called me hysterical. She says you're freezing her out, being cruel. But I know you. You don't do things without reason. I sat down heavily. For the first time in weeks, I let my exhaustion show. Sophie, did Rachel ever tell you about Patrick Winters? Her face went blank. Who? I told her everything. The name change. The pattern. The hotel. The confession I'd overheard. I showed her the evidence on my laptop, the recordings, the surveillance photos, the bank statements. Sophie covered her mouth, sobbing. Oh my God. Jason, I'm so sorry. She's my sister, but I feel sick. I'm not telling you this to turn you against her. You deserve to know who you're defending. Sophie broke down completely. She told me about their childhood, their father leaving when she was 5, their mother's alcoholism, the poverty. Rachel became obsessed with money, with never struggling again. She used to say, Sophie, we're going to marry rich and never worry. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Sophie wiped her tears. What are you going to do? Something she'll never see coming. Sophie, I need your help. She hesitated, torn between blood and justice. Then she nodded. What do you need? Trust me for one more week. Can you do that? Yes. Marcus's investigator had done her homework. Derek had a long-term girlfriend, Natalie, a journalist for the New York Times. She didn't know about Rachel. I arranged for Sophie to invite Rachel to lunch at a trendy Soho restaurant. Simultaneously, Marcus coincidentally brought Natalie to the same place. Rachel and Sophie were seated when Natalie walked past their table and froze. She'd seen Rachel in photos Derek had carelessly left open. Natalie approached. Excuse me. You're Rachel, right? Rachel went white. I don't think we've met. No, but I know who you are. I'm Natalie. Derek's girlfriend. Well, ex-girlfriend now, thanks to you. The restaurant went silent. Sophie looked genuinely shocked. She was a good actress. Natalie continued, loud enough for everyone to hear. Did you really think he didn't have someone? Or did you just not care because he had money? The Waldorf, room 1147, every Thursday. Should I go on? Rachel grabbed her purse and ran out. Sophie sat there, stunned and heartbroken, playing her part perfectly. Outside, Rachel called Derek frantically. It went straight to voicemail. Natalie had made sure he blocked her number that morning. Rachel sat in her car, mascara running, her perfect facade crumbling. She had no idea this was just the beginning. I watched from across the street, hidden behind tinted windows. Marcus sat beside me. You sure about the next part? Absolutely. I told Rachel it was a surprise anniversary party. She was suspicious but played along, probably thinking it was another chance to perform for her friends. When she entered our penthouse, she froze. Everyone was there. Meredith, Vanessa, Kim, her mother, Sophie, Marcus, and Derek looking confused and uncomfortable. Jason, what is this? Rachel asked, her voice tight. It's the truth. I pressed play on my laptop. The audio from that night filled the room through surround sound speakers. I can dump him anytime. He's just a wallet I've not emptied yet. The room erupted. Gasp. Meredith stared at the floor. Vanessa's eyes widened. Rachel's mother covered her mouth in horror. Derek stood up, furious. You told me you were divorced. Rachel's world shattered in real time. She looked around desperately, searching for sympathy. Found none. I spoke, my voice calm but breaking. 8 years ago, I met a woman I thought was the love of my life. I gave her everything. I worked 16-hour days, canceled trips, missed time with my dying mother because I thought we were building something together. My voice cracked. But I was just a wallet. The saddest part? I would have given her anything if she'd been honest. If she'd said she was unhappy, we could have fixed it. But she didn't want partnership. She wanted plunder. Rachel was crying, mascara running. She tried to speak, but nothing came. I pulled out an envelope. These are divorce papers. You'll get what the prenup states, $50,000 and your personal belongings. Everything else is protected. Within 48 hours, Rachel's life imploded. Vanessa posted, I don't condone betrayal. I've unfollowed Rachel. My brand is about authenticity. 200,000 followers saw it. Meredith's husband threatened a defamation suit if Rachel mentioned their name. Their social circle closed ranks against her. Rachel's mother moved in with Sophie, refusing her calls. I didn't raise you to be this person, she'd said before hanging up. Derek wrote a Medium article, How I Was Conned by a Professional Gold Digger. It went viral, 50,000 reads in 3 days. Comments flooded in with similar stories. Rachel became infamous. She called me, sobbing. Please, Jason. I made a mistake. I'll do anything. You had 8 years to do anything. You chose this. I hung up. It was the last time we spoke. Rachel packed her belongings from the penthouse. Designer clothes, shoes, jewelry, things she could sell. As she left, she passed our wedding photo on the wall. She stared at it for a long moment, perhaps seeing for the first time what she'd destroyed. The door closed behind her. The penthouse felt lighter somehow. Marcus called that evening. The divorce was filed. She didn't contest anything. Her lawyer advised against it after seeing the evidence. How long? 4 months, maybe less. Jason, you did it? She can't touch you. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. I heard through Sophie that Rachel moved back to Connecticut, to the small town where she and Sophie grew up. The place Rachel had spent her entire adult life trying to escape. She found work at a diner off Route 9. Early morning shifts, coffee-stained apron, tips in a jar. Everything she'd feared, everything she'd schemed to avoid, became her reality. Derek's article had made her recognizable in certain circles. A few customers recognized her, whispered, left smaller tips. The manager had to have a conversation with her about maintaining professionalism after she snapped at someone who asked if she was that woman from the article. Her friends never called. Meredith, Vanessa, Kim, they'd moved on to new brunches, new gossip, new targets. Rachel had been entertainment, not family. Sophie visited her once. She came back heartbroken. She looked so different, Jason. Tired. Older. She asked about you. What did you tell her? That you're doing well. That you started a foundation. She cried. I didn't ask more. I didn't want to know if Rachel felt remorse or just regretted getting caught. My life moved forward. The divorce finalized in 3 months and 22 days. I signed the papers in Marcus's office, handed Rachel's $50,000 check to a courier, and that was it. 8 years dissolved into legal documents and wire transfers. I threw myself into work, but differently now. I started a foundation, helping people escape financially abusive relationships. Men and women who'd been controlled, manipulated, used. We provided legal aid, financial counseling, therapy. In 6 months we helped 73 people. 6 months after the divorce, I sat on a bench in Central Park feeding ducks with Sophie. It had become our Sunday routine. She was one of the few people I trusted now, and our friendship had deepened through everything. Have you heard from her? Sophie asked quietly. No. Marcus says she's still in Connecticut. Waitressing. Apparently Derek's article made her pretty infamous. She tried creating new social media accounts, but people kept finding her. Sophie was quiet for a moment. Do you feel bad? I considered the question honestly. I feel free. I didn't destroy her life, Sophie. I just stopped letting her destroy mine. She made choices. She planned, schemed, lied. I just made sure those choices had consequences. She called me last week. Asked if I thought you'd ever forgive her. What did you say? That forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. That you can forgive someone and still never want to see them again. A jogger passed, smiled at me. I smiled back. Not ready for anything yet, but healing. The anger had faded into something quieter, acceptance maybe. Understanding that some people see others as resources, not humans. Sophie nudged me. You know, revenge looked good on you. But peace looks better. I laughed genuinely for the first time in months. I'm working on it. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set behind the Manhattan skyline. The city glowed golden and orange, full of possibility. Somewhere out there, Rachel was living with her choices. And I was finally living free of mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Maria, my cousin. Foundation meeting Tuesday? We have 5 new applicants who need help. I typed back, I'll be there. Sophie read over my shoulder and smiled. This is good, Jason. What you're doing. Helping people. It's healing, isn't it? Yeah, I said. It really is. We stood up, walking through the park as the streetlights flickered on. The city hummed with evening energy, people heading to dinners, shows, lives full of genuine connection and honest love. I'd learned the hard way that not everyone deserves your trust, your heart, your life. But I'd also learned that betrayal doesn't have to break you. It can teach you, strengthen you, show you what you're really made of. Rachel had called me a wallet, a thing to be used and discarded. But I'd proven I was so much more. I was a man who built himself from nothing. A man who fought back with intelligence, not violence. A man who turned pain into purpose. And as I walked through Central Park that evening, hands in my pockets, the New York skyline behind me, I realized something profound. Rachel had taken a lot from me, my trust, my time, years of my life. But she hadn't taken the thing that mattered most. She hadn't taken who I was. I was still standing. Still building. still fighting for people who needed someone in their corner. And that was the best revenge of all, becoming someone better while she stayed exactly who she'd always been.